Oh yeah, now it says got.
Yeah. My guest today is Louise. Louise, like all my guests, has got many, many talents. There's so many things that she can do and that she helps people with. And I'm going to invite Louise to tell us about some of those things. She's relentlessly pursued her spiritual path for more than 12 years. Good afternoon, Louise. How are you?
Hello, I think it's longer. But anyway, we won't split hairs about that. Yeah, I think it's a longer time, but it depends on what you define as spiritual. I suppose it's that really.
Okay, so when do you first remember having any kind of spiritual experiences at all?
Well, I can go all the way back to when I was 4, 5, because I was thinking about it earlier. But when we say spiritual, it's more like a connection. When you always feel you're connected to God, but you feel it more when you're younger. So what happened is when I was 4 or 5, I used to pray and even like pray for healing for family members, things like that. I actually felt like it was a two-way conversation. So I would talk or I would pray and I would receive. So I had a technique, okay? And it's really interesting. I was just thinking about it lately, right, really vividly. And I had this like piece of wood with Jesus's face on, and I used to look into his eyes and literally communicate. And it was like what we would say now is telepathic communication. So I would literally sit there and just ask questions, and sometimes just in the mind, asking the question, getting the answer come through. So even then, I still remember vividly 6, 7 sitting there with this image, and doing
really
it that
young.
way.
Yeah, that's really young, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because most 5, 6, 7-year-olds, the last thing on their mind is communicating with Jesus.
Yeah, I promise
Probably
you,
the most
all the
they
time.
remember Jesus is, at Christmas, and
yeah, but I think
about Father Christmas and toys, isn't it?
But to be fair, it was a case of going to Sunday school sometimes as well. But I didn't really feel like, oh, I'm connecting there. It was more like in my own time, really. Like in the garden or in the stairwell, like with this image. So that was interesting, or at night time. But I think what spurred it on was the dreams, because I had very lucid, very vivid dreams from a young age. And now I still get them, but not as frequent. I used to wake up like night terrors, like really, really afraid, or really, really happy, depending on what was happening. So when that would happen, middle of the night, I would talk to God about it, and then I'd get information and reasons why.
Wow.
So it was more like a soul to soul. This is how it all really started, and this is why the faith has been maintained and is so strong now.
Wow. So again, that's unusual. Connection to God at such a young age, and knowing that it's God. And
absolutely. Yeah. And that's never left me, Yeah.
That's incredible. So as well as God and Jesus, you connect with angels as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I can share some experiences where I felt they were really prevalent, and other times where I just call on them, but I just trust that they're working in the highest good of all. So there was one occasion when I was young, and it was like an exit point, where it's like, you could have lost your life, you could have been injured. And out of the blue, there was a tall man with a suit on who just stood there, and the whole thing got rewound. And there I am standing there perfectly calm, perfectly still, perfectly unharmed. And he was just standing with one hand here. And I was stuck to the spot, but in a very peaceful, calm way.
He was physical. You felt his physical hand.
Oh yeah. Completely physical.
But you feel he was an angel, that
he appeared like this. Yeah, completely appeared. So 1 minute running like this into danger, no one around. And then all of a sudden he's right there by my side, so physical and like this. And that one touch, just one touch like that, was enough to make me immobile, but calm and stop. And then the other time was with the female one. So I feel like there is a like female guide, like angel, that comes in if I get ill. It's only if I got really, really ill. So one time we didn't know about anaphylaxis. We didn't know about allergies and things like that, how severe it can be. So the first time I got an attack of it was when I was 12, 13. And so at night, I had all these like lumps over my skin, itchy, everything getting hot. And then I found it hard to breathe here. I didn't understand, but obviously that's when it was getting serious. And I just knew there was a lady by my bed, just stay calm and just breathe, you know? So she was with me all night. And so when I woke up, I felt completely calm. Doctor came and said, oh, you just need antihistamine. But we didn't know that. So we had to call a home doctor to say, okay, it's got quite serious. We don't know what to do. And he just gave the antihistamine. Obviously, everything cleared. All the toxins cleared from the system after this situation. But I didn't feel panicked. Whereas if you feel this is closing up, you panic. And it could have got serious. But I always knew that there was a slim, tall lady, but like ethereal. This wasn't physical. This was more ethereal, this one.
And did you feel more guide or angel?
It's
both?
hard to say. Both, really. It was very, very hard to say.
Very
And
angelic
also
presence.
not really showing so much, but just making me aware that she was there. You know, and it was very helpful, and there was no fear or anything strange. It felt very natural because of the energy they come with, you know.
Yeah, it sounds beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're able also to connect to the spirit world, and you have dreams about the spirit world, and you're able to astral project as well, aren't you?
Yeah, so I can't do that as much as before, but I think that's to do with meditation experience. So the more I can get into a regular practice of meditation, the stronger it becomes, the more vivid the dream, the more lucid, and the more opportunity there is to have that experience. So my first experience of connecting with spirit was when I was, well, actually before that. So it was about 17, 16 years of age. And spirit told me in my mind, so there was no one there. I didn't feel anyone around, but I just had a clear knowing that, you know, one of my relatives would pass. So I just kept that information. I knew when it was going to happen, not how, but I just knew. So I had acceptance of it and I was prepared. And then obviously that occurred. And then we were really distraught, really upset when this event occurred. And then during one dream, it almost became not a dream. I almost went to a different reality, and I was just holding a candle, and I just looked at the light of this candle. I'm walking very calmly, and all of a sudden, there is the light of God. This is the first time that I saw the presence or felt the presence of God. So there was this orange, golden light, very, very bright, but not the bright light, you know, like if you look at the sun or you look at the candle, you look at the light switch, you know, electricity.
But it didn't blind you. It was very bright.
No. So you can see it, you can go towards it, you can look at it, but the strength of the love is too much, you know, that it was really overpowering because it was just, yeah, burning bright, you know, with full unconditional love. And I could see my granddad coming out from there, and I could see like the energy behind him intertwined or like blending with all his friends. And then he came forward and transfigured from the age that he was when he passed all the way back to maybe 30, I would say 25. And I saw him wearing his sailor outfit, everything. He showed me. There was no speech, there was no talk. It was just clear communication through the mind to mind link. So then obviously I said, what's it like? What happened? But he was just smiling. He wasn't answering, but he was answering in just the pure energy and the love that I could feel around.
Most people explain things exactly like you've just said,
Yeah.
and they have a near-death experience. So they actually have died for a minute, 10 minutes, however long it is, before they have an experience like that. So you're very fortunate to be able to describe an experience like that, you know, without having died.
The trauma. Yeah, that's what I mean. I just feel really, really blessed. Yeah. No, I do feel really like grateful, and I do really feel like really like special just because I've had those kind of experiences to allow me to know. Whereas other people, when they're agnostic, they have to search, they want proof, they want evidence. But when you have those experiences, you just know. And that's all you can give to someone, you know?
Yeah. And maybe if you are lucky enough to have these experiences, it's not for proving to other people. You know, they have to do that for themselves. It's almost like if you have the realization within yourself, it is for you to absolutely know that This
Yeah.
isn't a possible thing, that it's come for you to help you with your journey.
Yeah,
And if
absolutely.
other people want to listen, fine. If they want to believe, that's fine. But equally, if they don't, it doesn't actually really
Yeah.
matter. What's important is that they want you to be awake to it,
Yeah.
aware of it. Yeah,
But it's been
brilliant.
really helpful because, you know, when you have difficult times, normal life challenges, you can always go back and draw on those times. So when you go back to those visions, those experiences, it just helps, I find, to open the heart and to have a higher perspective. So that's what it's given for me
Mm,
personally.
yeah, it's amazing. Very beautiful. Um, what degree would you say your practice of meditation has helped you with these? Because it sounds like long before you knew what meditation was or how to do it,
Mm.
that this connection was already there and quite strong, from a very early age.
Yeah, because when I was young, I used to go into these like little trances. And so my mum thought that I was, you know, unwell, shall we say. But I used to drift off and just like go and find that kind of point. And then it became clearer the more that I learned about meditation. I started going to meditation classes. Um, and yeah, my own personal meditation, I find really deep. Everyone is different. Every time that I meditate is very different. Obviously, it depends on state of mind, health, all of those things.
Mm,
But the clearer that my mind is, the better the meditation practice. But I have found that in group situations, it's more powerful. The energy is always higher, always a lot better.
yeah, yeah. I think there are reasons for that, aren't there?
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah,
It just feels more guided, you know, more instructional than when you're just doing it on your own. But
yeah,
you know, it is lovely to go into meditations where you actually go to that place just before sleep. And so it's a trance-like space, you know, like a different state of consciousness. So you're fully aware, but your body is completely relaxed, and you feel more ethereal. You feel more spiritual than you do physical.
mm.
So, and in that space, that's where I found most healing can take place.
Oh, okay. So I do understand that you do mediumship yourself and healing. I know you have a number of modalities under your belt, and I know that when you do heal, it can be
Mm.
fairly instant. Would you like to tell us about some of the healing modalities that you have learned, and that maybe some experiences of people that have been healed quickly?
Um, well, I would say that basically healing is quicker if you can get into that place of love. The more you can make that connection and you're doing it from a really pure, loving state of being, the quicker it can happen, only because it's easier to transfer those prayers or that healing up and out. So basically, if you see yourself as like a conduit, as a medium for that, it's a much easier. So how I tend to do it by myself and in groups at the moment is through like the Christian healing. So we do a lot of very high level supernatural Christian healing type, either hands on or remote. We can do it anyway, but we do it with the instruction of Jesus. So we ask, okay, what's the root of this? So we go to the root, not just the superficial pains and problems and upsets that the person's telling us,
Mm.
and then work with that individual, you know, in that way.
Yeah, you're quite unusual in that you still follow the Christian faith and have your spirituality, because
Yeah,
many people can either be spiritual um, and maybe have Christianity, but there are many
yeah.
who, if they're Christian, they won't contemplate any kind of spirituality. Some Christians don't believe that that's even possible. But you manage to kind of blend the two together, don't you?
Yeah, I think they complement each other in terms of when you know there's many paths to God, when you know that God is saying, all of you are my children, there's no differentiation. It's what you take from your learning and how
Mm.
you apply it to your life and how you treat others. That's the key thing. So, as Jesus said, it's not about become a Christian. He never said it. He didn't actually say it. He
You
said,
didn't
be
know what it
like
was.
me. Yeah.
Yeah.
He said, just follow me. I'm giving you the direct guidance from God. That's why he says, I'm the way, the truth, and the light. It's exactly the same as all the other religions, but they've got their own, explanations. But when you break them all down, you come to the truth, and that's the love, and that's the common soul conscious, loving application, of acting, thinking, and being.
Mm.
So that's my reason for saying that they both complement one another very well.
Mm. That's really lovely, because most religions, I don't know so much about whether it's everybody now or whether or not it's the older ways of thinking, and the older ones
Yeah,
and the younger ones are more accepting, because the older ones, as we've been hearing for most of our lives, my religion is the correct one and all the others aren't. So all
yeah.
religions say that. Um, but the younger ones do seem to be more accepting of that you're Christian, that's fine. I'm this, that's fine. He might be something else. And they all just get along together. Young people just seem less caught up in
The traditional
restrictions.
ways. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I think because the society has changed, that's why. And people are coming in now, I think, more open, more aware of their soul purpose, or more aware of their, spiritual
yeah. That was
dimension.
said in another interview, actually. The last interview that I did,
Oh,
she said
okay.
that the
Oh,
babies being born this year are going
yeah,
to be
yeah,
really awakened. But
yeah,
I think that we've had a number of years with the younger ones now having the kind of gifts that you're talking about,
yeah,
and their awareness from from quite an early age. I think there's many more that are already here.
yeah. So even with the Christian aspects of it, when you do the prophecy, they say that prophecy is in the Bible and has been ordained. And they're saying, because what they say is Jesus said, you can do the same as me and more.
Mm,
So they do prophecy in there. And basically all working with spirit is love anyway. You're not going to be getting someone's relative through unless it's through the love vibration, because their thoughts are with them, the spirit's thoughts are with that person who's still living, and they just want to bring their love and their truth that life is eternal through. So that's how you can see how it blends together, if that makes sense,
yeah,
from the
yeah.
spiritual mediumship side as well as the Christian aspect as well.
Mm,
So I see it in both.
yeah. And also, you do tarot, and there would be people that say that the Bible says that
Yeah.
using tarot or cards or
Oh
doing
yeah,
that is
absolutely.
abominable.
Yeah.
But yeah, um, uh,
Personally, I see it as a tool, and it depends on the intentionality. If you're doing something, but you're doing it in a pure way for a purpose. And obviously, you've got to take responsibility as well, how you're producing the information, how you're relating the information that you're getting. So I'm seeing the tarot more like a tool. It just helps to open up. But there's been many times that I haven't just got the cards. If there's a pertinent question or someone wants an answer, sometimes you just feel into it and you just know. And the
mm,
cards are either a confirmation for that or just help to elicit that truth to come through. So it really depends on how you're using that information.
yeah. Can you give us an example of a time when you've done mediumship and you brought a message through from a loved one that's really helped somebody here?
Okay, so the best example I've got, because I've been to many circles developed in the past, um, once a lady came, it was quite an organic experience because she just learned that I did this and found other mediums to be expensive. I said, I'm not going to charge, it's good development for me. So she came round. I think it was with her mother. Yeah, I think it was with her mother. So it was the mother that wanted the reading. So I've never met her, I didn't even know her name until she arrived. And it was quite incredible. I didn't know why she'd come, and she was very fortunate because the ones in her heart that she wanted me to connect with came through together, side by side. So one was this side, one was this side, and it was completely accurate. And how they gave the information to her was through the image they put in my mind of an old photograph. So I was able to get time, location, career, and be able to give the husband's love to her. So it was absolutely incredible because one husband died in the war, so many, many years ago, and he was able to give so much evidence of everlasting life. And then the other one was a more recent passing, and he was a very good communicator. So I was able to bring that through.
Mm,
Um, or, he was able to connect with me at a level where she was able to receive. So that
mm,
was actually really good because I didn't know her. That was the thing that made it even more evidential for me as well, gave more validation.
mm. Yeah, if she can acknowledge the different personalities, I mean,
Absolutely.
of
Yeah,
all the
yeah,
personality types, you've got two very different ones, and you've got both of those
yeah,
accurately.
yeah.
She must have been
And
very
both of
happy.
them came through, you know, which was so
Yeah,
lovely, which is exactly what she wanted, that
and I'll
she
bet that
needed to
made such a
know.
difference to her in her life to know that
Yeah. Well,
they're both.
hopefully, yeah.
Yeah,
So it's always really invigorating. It's always really lovely. You feel very, very empowered and very um, powerful afterwards, because the energy they bring is just so lovely. I can't really explain it anymore. I don't mean powerful in an ego way. I mean it like you just feel really alive, more alive than your normal life when you're working with that side, you know, because they
yeah,
just bring so much energy through, so much love, because they're excited, you know, to be
mm,
able to have that 2-3 way conversation.
yeah, and their energy levels and their realms are not dense and heavy like they are
Exactly.
here.
So it just feels
Yeah,
so lovely, you know, such a nice thing to be able to be a part of, really.
yeah. And you've had astral projection experiences as well.
Yeah,
Could you?
so they're all quite different. Sometimes I feel like I'm going to astral levels, so high vibrational levels, which is just exactly the same as the earth, but with the colors being brighter, it feels like more of a real reality place, more real than it is here. That's the only way I can describe it. The sun's very bright and the light is infused in everything. Every building looks majestic. Every person is just shining and glowing. There's rolling meadows and fields, and everything is just in perfection. So, like, if you imagine what the Garden of Eden was like, how the
Mm,
earth should have been at the beginning of time, it's like this.
I imagine it all
Um,
the time.
so, yeah, it's absolutely amazing, absolutely beautiful. And again, I feel like when you meet other souls there, it's just very telepathic. There's not really any noise. Um, it's just a very peaceful place, but the peace is just infused with all this unconditional love. So those are like the preferred kind of experiences. If ever one leaves the body, you know, that would be the absolute ultimate, because it's just such a perfect, awe-inspiring place. You just don't want to leave. Everything
I-
is just majestic, really.
If somebody were to ask you, how do you do that? How do you leave the body? Would you be able to give them some tips on what they could do to
Yeah,
leave?
normally it's through sound. So I find binaural beats or different sounds work really well, because it just alters the state of the brain and just helps to take you deeper, more into the like somnamblistic stage, um, more trance-like. So it just helps to alter the brain waves, so we're less in the conscious mind, less in the egoic mind, and more in that kind of spiritual state. And then that just helps the separation. Even though you're not completely separate, you just have more awareness of the spirit and how it's free, and not the physical body, which is dense and passive at that time.
And is it more likely to happen if somebody practices? I mean, how long do you think it would be if somebody wanted to practice astral projection, in other words, a spirit leaving the body?
Yeah.
Um, do you think it's something that could happen quite spontaneously and quite quickly, or does it take months? How long do they need to
Both
be?
really. It depends on the state of mind and the expectation and the trust. It's all to do with your own trust, really, that you're safe, that you know what you're doing, and that you get yourself into that calm state. So it could happen spontaneously. It can happen to anyone really, just in the nighttime, like when they go into REM and they come out of their body naturally then. Um, and if you're practicing or trying to do it, it could just be a slipping away, and you could find yourself easily moving through a set technique, or through being in that kind of state where you're willing your mind awake and the body asleep, or how I found it to be through regular practice of meditation. So when I had the opportunity to meditate maybe 3 times a day every day, it strengthens and it gives you more power, really,
Right.
to the soul, to the spirit. So I found that, the more you can meditate, the more you can come out of your earthly reality, away from all the mundanities and all the strains and struggles of everyday life, and go into that place on a regular basis. It just strengthens it, and it just allows more freedom, so you have that higher perspective and you're able to reach higher levels.
That sounds great. And the other thing that you've spoken about is that you've had experiences with aliens and ETs in your trance state, or when you've astral projected. Um, could you tell us about these ETs?
Yeah, so it's interesting because the one I remember most vividly was 2008. So they never leave you. When it's that lucid, you have those memories. Yeah, they are like memories, like real life memories. Whereas normally dreams fade away over time. But this one in particular, they were showing me how they project
You say
things.
they. Would you mind
Oh,
just telling us who
when I
they are?
say they, the reason why it's so general is because it's very hard to tell. It's other intelligences, other beings that are not in earthly bodies, but it's not spirit. So it's more like,
How do you differentiate? Because you say you communicate with angels,
yeah,
and you know what that you can label
yeah,
angels, you can
absolutely.
label spirit people, the souls of people that have departed from here and moved on.
Yeah.
So what is it that's different that makes you call these particular entities ETs or aliens and not spirit or dearly departed loved ones? What is it about them that's different?
Well, they kind of show themselves in a different way. So you
Okay.
experience their energies very differently, but ultimately they are still souls, they're still spirit, but just incarnated into a different dimension, I would say, but also a different physical manifestation. The way that their bodies look is different. So how they showed me in 2008 was just the vastness of space, that the darkness or the space that we imagine it to be is not as scary or as empty as we think as human beings. That's all I can explain. And there feels as much love there as there does in the spirit world. But it's a different vibration because it is a still more dense, I would say, than the spirit realms and heaven and places like that.
Almost
So
like they're more physical, would you say? The
yeah,
aliens
that's
are
what I
more
mean.
physical, so maybe
They're
not.
more physical because they are living an earth, they're not an earthly life. That's how we say it. They're living a planet-born life, but they're a little bit more free than we are because they travel most of the time. That's how they've shown themselves to be. But the reason why we don't have such an awareness of them is because of the vibrational state. That's how they showed themselves, like they come in and out of visibility. So it's not they're invisible, it's just it's a different vibrational state. So it was easier for me to connect with them at trance level. And in the dream state, where obviously my mind was at a different state of consciousness so that I could conceive of it. So it is like how we would see projections, and it's also how we would see different vibrational states if we could wear different lenses, different glasses, and be able to see different spectrums. But I've never known them to be scary or something to be afraid of. I've only found them to be helpful, informative, and very straightforward, very direct. So when they connect or when they have connected with me, it's been to show me things, to give me a higher perspective, to clarify things, and basically to give hope. It's almost like they're there for humanitarian reasons. They can see, like our soul paths, how we've chosen to enact our lives compared to them, but they're also, I would say, more intelligent in a lot of ways. They have a lot more to offer. So they're much more intelligent. That's the only way I can explain it. But it's a different type of intelligence.
What do you think they would be offering us?
Well, all they've ever really shown is that they're aware, but I think they find us kind of like primates. They find us kind of, it's like how we would see the Nathandral
Monkeys?
man. Yeah, no, but before that time, when we were
Oh,
just learning to stand up on 2 feet, it's
oh,
like we're still like at this level. We haven't really progressed that much in all these thousands of years. But I mean, from spirit side, that doesn't matter because a whole lifetime is a blink of an eye for them, you
mm.
know? But for the ETs, for all the thousands of years they've existed, um, they're just very, very advanced beings, really. So that what they're offering is, well, there is a different way, and you could be doing so much more. you know, multidimensionally, intergalactic, you know. So if you wanted to work with them, you have to have discernment, you have to be responsible for your own energies and what you're willing to give and receive, but you could work with them to actually, you know, learn how to advance in the right way. But I've just found them very direct, and when they've come through in trance, I've felt the energies of them in different ways. So different beings, they're not all the same. But all the ones that I've come across haven't meant any harm, they just lack emotion. So when I said to them, why are you here? Why do you want to be in our energy field? You know, if we're so archaic. And they just said, because we're so fascinated by how emotional we are. They find our emotions fascinating because we take everything so seriously and we have those extremes. Whereas if you're just floating around space, or you're visiting many different planets or dimensions or realms, it's all just, you just have this all-knowing, all-seeing experience. You know, that's the best way I can describe it.
So they're almost like just logging everything. They don't have a wide range of opinions about it. They're just kind of observing and logging.
Well, they are concerned, obviously, by world events and things that are happening which aren't of the highest good of all. But they're observing that, and they said that they bring their light in. So they are working, but not in a physical way, in a very energetic way, in a very light way. They are doing what they need to do. That's as much as I know, really. But I know it's done through light. And we know light is the highest vibration. I've always seen light as being very ethereal, very godlike. So I think they're working in partnership with God, as opposed to, you know, from their own, from a different.
Yeah. That's fascinating. That's a lot to think about. Thank you so much, Louise. You've given us a lot to think about there. Are there any last things, like, so for example, if somebody is interested on beginning their spiritual journey or deepening it, is there any advice that you'd like to give somebody, or leave them with a positive aspect that they could think about?
I would just say the most important thing to do is to be as present as much as possible, to feel gratitude for what you have, however small, however big, it doesn't matter, just to be in that state of gratitude, and to meditate, you know, as much as you can, and just to be in contact with yourself, to be aware of yourself, because the more you can be self-aware and the more love that you can bring in for yourself, the more you can do for people around you, and then that just naturally goes out into the microcosm, you know, and just spreads out further and further. So I would just say, you know, to bring in that self-awareness, to know yourself, to know what's you, just helps you to be able to discern, to be responsible. And if you've got pure intentions, if you can have an open, loving heart, and you do all things with love, only good can come from that. And I would also add, sorry, there's something else I'd also add. Okay, fine, it's important to know what's going on in the reality, not to, you know, go off into airy fairyland. You've got to be grounded to a point, because you're living here in the body. So yes, you need to know what's going on around the world, what's happening with the rest of humanity, but not to dwell on it. You know, if you're concerned, you send the love, you send the peace, you send the healing, you pray about it, but not to keep watching the news, not to keep reading all the things that the media are perpetuating, but just to send out with, you know, intelligent thought and with love, you know, and just do what you can, you know. We're not asking for people to change the world, but just your vibrations will make a huge difference, you know, to the world.
That's lovely. Thank you very much.
Okay.
And thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for, having this interview.
That's great. Thank you. And I'm sure there's a lot here that our viewers will be able to.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, great. Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks a lot. Bye.
Bye.